Hey, welcome to the Restoration Soul Care Podcast, where we have honest conversations about faith, neuroscience, and hope. I'm Michael Kamber, a relationship and recovery coach.
And I'm Nick Buddha, a mental health and relationship coach. If you feel stuck in shame, addiction, or pain, you don't have to face it alone. Join us for some real stories, real tools, and a real path forward. Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about something that I've been seeing more and more, and honestly, it's kind of starting to worry me. People are using AI like ChatGPT as their therapist or their recovery coach and as their accountability partners. And look, I get it. It's free, it's private, it's available to you at 3 a.m. You don't have to bother anybody when you're struggling. It never judges you. Sounds smart. Here's what I need you to understand right from the start, though. AI can give you information, but recovery requires transformation, and those are two very, very different things. Think about it like this. If I'm trying to learn Spanish, AI can teach me vocabulary, it can explain grammar rules, it can even have conversations with me, and that's information, and that's helpful. But if I'm trying to recover from an addiction that's been running my life for years, that's not a thing that is just about learning facts. That's about changing who I am at the deepest level. That's about facing the parts of myself that I've been running from. And that's about learning to trust people again. That's transformation. Here's the problem. AI feels like it's helping. You're talking about your struggles, you're getting thoughtful responses, you're feeling understood, and you think, hey, I'm doing the work. But the evidence of that is that weeks, months, years even go by and you're still stuck in the same patterns. The only thing that's different is that you're just more articulate about them now. So let me be clear about what I'm saying today. AI can support recovery, but it cannot lead it. And when we confuse those two things, we will sabotage ourselves while thinking that we're making actual progress. So before I tear into this, let me be fair, because AI isn't evil, and I don't want to sound like some old guy yelling at technology. AI is genuinely good at certain things. Nick and I have talked about before. We do use it. We do use it pretty often. It can be helpful to explain concepts or refine ideas, or if you want to understand how dopamine works or what the habit loop is or why your brain craves certain things, AI can break that down in pretty clear language, and that's honestly valuable. It's been helpful. It can help you articulate your thoughts. Sometimes you're feeling something, you can't really find the words. AI can help you sort through that fog and put language to your experience. It's really good at that. And it can offer structured prompts. Side note, if you really want to get the most out of a AI model, ask it to create a prompt for you to do X, Y, and Z. That's really cool. But it can help with things like what triggered you today or what emotion were you avoiding. These questions that it can throw to you can be useful for reflection. It can also temporarily, I'll say temporarily, reduce shame because AI doesn't judge you. You can tell it anything you want without worrying about what it thinks of you. And for someone carrying a ton of shame, that can feel like a ton of relief. So I'm not saying AI is totally useless. It can be like a really, really helpful, powerful assistant, and it can help with certain tasks. Here's the key. While AI is helpful, it's a terrible authority. It can help you think, it cannot help you change. And recovery is about change, not just thinking better. The core problem in the recovery world is not informational, it's relational. This is the heart of everything that I want to get into today, and it's frankly the heart of everything that we've talked about in the recovery space. So stay with me. Porn addiction isn't a knowledge problem. You don't relapse because you forgot how dopamine works. You don't fall back into the same patterns because you didn't read enough articles or understand enough neuroscience or listen to enough podcasts. You relapse because you're emotionally dysregulated and you don't know how to calm yourself down. You relapse because you're alone and you're isolated. You relapse because you avoid complicated emotions like grief, fear, or anger, shame. And you relapse because you never learned how to stay present in your body when things get uncomfortable. So let me say that again. You never learned how to stay present in your body when distress shows up. AI works in the cognitive layer, the thinking layer, the information layer, but recovery happens in two deeper layers, the relational layer and the emotional layer. And here's what I mean. The relational layer is about connection with other people. It's about learning to be known, learning to trust, learning that you can be honest about your struggles and not be abandoned by other people. That's where healing actually happens. The emotional layer is about feeling your feelings instead of numbing them. It's about staying in your body when anxiety hits. It's not about running to porn the second you feel lonely or angry or ashamed. Remember, feelings are states of the body. They're not thought processes. You can't think your way out of anxiety. You can't think your way out of loneliness. You can't think your way out of angry. Rather, when we experience those things, we have to teach our bodies how to respond to those. These layers require things AI just can't provide you. So there's a few things here. Number one is presence. Another human being sitting with you in your pain. AI cannot do that. Attunement. Someone who can read your body language, your tone, your energy, and know when something's off. Third thing, rupture and repair. This is huge. Sometimes in recovery, you get mad at your coach or you disappoint them, and then you work through it. That's how you learn relationships can survive conflict. AI cannot do that. And finally, being seen by another nervous system. This is the neuroscience. Your nervous system literally regulates through connection with another person's nervous system. It's called co-regulation. AI doesn't have a nervous system. So when you're only talking to AI, you're staying in your head. You're thinking about recovery. You're not actually doing it. So here are 5 specific ways I think that AI actively undermines recovery. And I'm going to get real specific. These are 5 ways that using AI as your main recovery tool can actually make things worse. Number 1, no real accountability. AI doesn't notice patterns over time unless you specifically tell it to look for them. And even then, it's just doing what you asked. It's not like thinking critically about those things. A real coach can track your patterns across weeks, months. They notice when you're slipping before you do. They say things like, the last 3 times we talk, you changed the subject when I asked about your relationship with your dad. What's going on there? AI never says that. It doesn't challenge your avoidance because it doesn't know that you're avoiding anything. And here's the thing, accountability requires risk. You have to risk disappointing someone. You have to risk them seeing through your excuses. This is one of the big problems because AI requires 0 risk. You can tell it whatever you want. You can minimize however much you need to, and it'll work with whatever you give it. That's not accountability. That's just journaling with better grammar. Number 2, it reinforces self-deception. It's a subtle one, but it's a lethal. AI responds to the input you give it. It trusts your framing. It believes your version of the story. So if you minimize your behavior, AI is going to minimize with you. If you spiritualize your struggle and make it all about God's plan, AI will go along with that too. If you intellectualize everything and avoid your feelings, AI will help you intellectualize even more. And as a good coach confronts those patterns, they say, hold on, you're doing that thing again where you make this about theology so you don't have to feel your anger. AI doesn't do that. It's not going to pick up on spiritual bypassing. It'll validate your distortions because it can't tell the difference between honesty and self-deception. And that keeps you stuck while making you feel like you're being productive. And that is incredibly dangerous. Number 3, no somatic awareness. Here's a big one. Recovery lives in the body. Most guys I work with are completely disconnected from their bodies. They live in their heads. They can think and analyze all day long, but they can't tell you what they're feeling in their chest or their stomach. AI cannot read your tone of voice. It can't notice when you're dissociating. It can't slow you down when you're spiraling, and it can't catch your bypassing. And it can't catch when you're bypassing real emotion with clever insights. A real coach hears what you didn't say. They notice when your voice gets flat. They see you when you suddenly get really intellectual after something vulnerable. They can point that out. AI only works with what you type. If you're numb, it'll never know. If you're lying to yourself, it can't tell. Number 4, it removes healthy dependence. This might sound weird, but early recovery requires some appropriate dependence upon other people. That's not weakness, that's just biology. When you're learning to trust again, when you're learning to be vulnerable, when you're learning that people won't abandon you when you mess up, you need to practice depending on someone safe. And again, that requires risk. AI can encourage isolation disguised as independence. It can make you think, I can do this on my own. I have my AI coach. I don't need anybody. But that's what keeps you alone with your thoughts. It replaces real community with a simulation. And healing requires learning how to need and trust real people again. And I know that's scary, but it's also the only way forward. Number 5, it never costs you anything. This is the last one, and it might be the most important. Transformation always costs something. It costs money, it costs time, it costs pride, it costs vulnerability. When you pay a coach, when you show up to a group, when you risk being honest with a friend, you have skin in the game. There's a real stake. AI costs you nothing. It's free, it's easy, it's low risk. Here's the hard truth. Without risk, there's no change. When something costs you nothing, you don't value it the same way. You don't show up the same way. You don't push through resistance the same way. Free advice feels easy to ignore. When you're paying for coaching and driving across town to meet with someone, you tend to take it a little more seriously. Let me paint a picture you might recognize. There's a guy who's been working on his porn addiction for a couple of years. He uses AI regularly. He journals, he reads articles, he listens to podcasts. He sounds really articulate about his struggles. He knows all the language. He can explain trauma responses, attachment styles, dopamine regulation, all of it. But he's still acting out every couple weeks. He's still isolated. He's still avoiding real connection. His relationships haven't improved. His patterns haven't changed. And to make matters worse, his wife happened to stumble upon his AI chat history, and she was previously unaware of his problem with pornography. And that blew up. What happened? He was trapped in the illusion of progress. Here are the signs that you might be in that same place. You sound articulate, but are unchanged. You can talk about your issues beautifully, but your behavior hasn't actually shifted. You know the language, but repeat the exact same cycles. You understand the concepts, but you keep doing the same things. You feel understood, but not transformed. AI makes you feel heard, but nothing actually moves or changes. You're always working on it alone. You never bring anyone else in. You never get real support. So here's the hard truth. Insight without interruption equals stagnation. You can have all the insights in the world, but if no one is there to interrupt your patterns, to call you out, to stop you mid-sentence and say, that's not true, and you know it, you just keep circling the same mountain and you never make any real progress. So what does a real recovery coach actually provide? What's the difference? What does it give you that an AI can't? Let me break that down. A coach provides external regulation. When you're spiraling, when you're dysregulated, when your nervous system is in fight or flight mode, a coach can help bring you back down. Their calm helps you calm. That's co-regulation. It's biology. It's part of how we're created. That's our created reality. God created us for real relationships with other people. A coach recognizes patterns across weeks and months. They track your cycles. They see when you're about to relapse before you do. They connect dots you can't see because you're too close to it. A coach provides relational pressure that exposes avoidance. Just by showing up regularly, by asking direct questions, by not letting you off the hook, they make it harder to hide. That pressure is good. That's good pressure because it forces growth. You have to deal with it. You can't just sort of slip out the back door. A coach offers real-time challenge. They stop you mid-thought. They interrupt your story. They say, wait, that doesn't add up. That interruption is what creates change because it's a real person in your life who's not going to put up with whatever crap you might be trying to spin. Not everybody does that, but it does happen. A coach brings embodied presence. There's a real human with you, a real nervous system sitting with you. That matters way more than you think it does. A coach provides both safety and confrontation. They make you feel safe enough to be honest, but they care enough to confront you when you're lying. But here's the most important thing. A coach risks the relationship by telling you the truth. I know that if I call you out, you might get mad at me. You might want to quit. You might want to stop showing up. But I'm going to do it anyway because I care more about your growth than your approval. In fact, I did that just this week. There's a client I meet with who is in a pretty rough spot, and he's not doing the real work that it requires outside of our time together. And because of that, I recommended that he go to an inpatient program out of state that's really expensive, and he's going to be gone for a week, so he has to take off a week of work. But I told him that he wasn't allowed to schedule another session with me until after he scheduled that because I know that that's going to be a pain in the butt for him. But I also recognize that the thing that we have going on isn't enough. It's not enough to create the change that he needs in his life. And that's okay. Everybody's in different places. That might not be everybody. It certainly isn't everybody. But I had to take the risk to tell him that, knowing that he might get mad at me and say, I'm not going to do that. I want to keep doing this. And now he has to contend with that. And that's good for him. AI never risks anything. It can't. So it's never going to push you the way that you need to be pushed. So is there a right way to use AI? Look, I'm not saying that you have to delete ChatGPT and never use it again. That's not realistic. It's not necessary. But you do need to think about reframing how you use it. AI can best be used as a journaling aid. You can use it to organize your thoughts or reflect on your day. It's a great reflection tool between sessions. If you have a coach, use AI to process things that came up between meetings. I think that's fine. It can also be a great language helper. When you're stuck and you can't find words, like we said earlier, AI can help clarify what you're feeling. And it can also be a supplement to community and coaching. Supplement is the key word here, not replacement. Supplement, not replacement. I would never encourage you to use AI as your primary guide because it cannot lead you through recovery. Support, not leading. And it can't be your accountability system because it's not watching your patterns. It's not calling you out. It's not asking you the hard questions because there's no risk. It can't be your confessor. Confession requires relationship. AI is not that. And it can't be your coach. It's a tool, not a person. Use AI like you use a calculator. It's helpful for certain tasks, but you wouldn't use a calculator to teach you math, right? You wouldn't use a calculator to understand why math matters or how to think mathematically. It's the same thing here. So let me bring this home. If you're using AI because you want help, that makes sense. I get it. You're looking for support, and AI is accessible. But if you're using AI so you don't have to be known, that's the problem. If you're using AI because it's safer than real people, because it won't disappoint you, because it won't challenge you too hard, because you can control the conversation, that's just avoidance. Hear me. That's avoidance dressed up as progress. Recovery happens when another human can see you, interrupt you, and walk with you over time. Not just talk to you, walk with you. AI can talk to you. It can give you information. It can reflect your thoughts back to you, but it can't walk with you through the hard seasons. It can't sit with you when you're ashamed. It can't hold you accountable when you're lying to yourself. It can't celebrate with you when you finally break through. those things require another human being. So if you've been doing recovery alone and wondering why it's not sticking, that's not a willpower issue. It's not a knowledge issue. It's a relational issue. And that's exactly what real recovery work addresses. So if that's you and you're in this place and you do need that extra layer of help, Nick and I both offer one-on-one coaching opportunities. If you're curious about what that looks like, or you just want to talk and figure out what a path forward looks like, even if that doesn't involve us, we are delighted to help you think through that and walk through that and process that. Go to the website, rscky.com/get started, book a free discovery call. It's 30 minutes. We'll hear your story, figure out what's going on, and chart a path forward. As always, don't do this alone, specifically not with AI. So hope that helps. Catch you on the next episode. Hey, thanks for joining us today. If you found this helpful, do us a huge favor and subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Or better yet, send this to someone who needs encouragement.
For more tools, resources, and information about our coaching, check out rscky.com. Keep showing up.
Yeah, we'll catch you next time.